Dana Perino, who is known for her calmness, knowledge, and strength, once had a marriage that people looked up to. Marilyn told me she loved me, how much she missed being with me, and how much she had liked her time in the UK. Then she said, "Yes, I will marry you." For 26 years, Peter McMahon was by his side, and there were no scandals or noise. Just love, respect, and companionship. Then, all of a sudden, in early 2025, the news of their quiet divorce hit like a cold slap. There was no explanation or denial, just a short statement that left people who used to admire their relationship wondering what had really happened. A woman who used to call her husband the soulmate of my life stopped talking about him. A man who had been by her side through every important event disappeared from the picture. But the story didn't end with a divorce because, as Dana herself admitted, the truth hurt much more than losing a marriage. When that truth came out in 1997 on a flight from Denver to Chicago, everything really began. Dana, who was young and eager and wanted to become a politician, sat next to an Englishman who was 18 years older than her. He was handsome, calm, and had a look that made people feel safe. A seasoned businessman named Peter McMahon didn't take long to notice that the woman sitting next to him was not only beautiful, but also smart in a way that he couldn't miss. "I was walking down the jetway behind this cute little blonde with a ponytail swinging, and I thought I hope I sit next to her. When we sat down, I did this quick check, and I was like, oh, he's cute." The two didn't know that what seemed like a casual conversation would completely change their lives. They talked about politics, passion, doubt, hope, and then things that no one tells a stranger but come out naturally with the right person. When the plane landed, they couldn't stop talking, and Peter took the initiative to stay in touch. Soon after, he flew to the US to see her again. The age and distance difference should have been problems, but they turned out to be catalysts for their love to grow quietly and deeply. There was no need for noise or marking territory on social media, just long walks in Central Park, phone calls that went until midnight, and simple words of encouragement that helped them stay grounded through the toughest days. Dana once said, "Peter isn't the kind of man who sweeps you off your feet, but he made me feel safe to be exactly who I am, and that's worth so much more." After a year, they got married in a small wedding by the English coast. They got married with just their closest friends and family and a simple vow: "We will always choose each other." Life after marriage wasn't always easy, especially when Dana went into politics, which was full of stress and sacrifice, but Peter never asked for it. He wasn't jealous of the attention or the never-ending press briefings. Instead, he was the first to text her good luck every morning and the last to listen to her cry every night. When Dana became White House press secretary under President George W. Bush, one of the most stressful jobs in American politics, Peter was still there, not in the spotlight, not loud, but steady enough for her to know that no matter what was going on outside, home would always be her safe place. In 2003, they celebrated their 5th wedding anniversary. When Peter gave Dana a Vizsla puppy named Jasper, no one thought that little dog would become a symbol of their life together, happy, loyal, and always there for each other when they needed comfort. Their home was built on making each other coffee in the morning, laughing with their beloved dog, and reading together every night in peace and quiet. They didn't have to prove anything to the world. They were just true to each other, to friends and the public. They were the picture of mature love, a love that didn't need many words but stood as solid as stone. But no matter how beautiful, love always faces problems, and the first challenge didn't come from the outside but from a loss that no one could have seen coming. People thought of Dana and Peter's dog Jasper as their first child. He died of cancer in 2021. To others, Jasper was just a pet, but to them, he was family. He was their most loyal friend, the thing that kept them together on hard days, and the reason they laughed every morning and hugged every night. Dana broke down in tears on Instagram when she shared the sad news, calling Jasper the little light of our family. Many people were moved to tears when they thought about Peter gently rubbing Jasper's fur for the last time. Then, slowly but surely, something strange started to happen. Peter started to show up less and less with Jasper. In their place were solo pictures. Dana wrote in one of her posts that used to be full of pictures of the two of them. Dana wrote in a short story with no tags, no explanation, that we can live a full life without everyone beside us. The descriptions were vague but full of emotion. Those close to her described Dana as still strong and cheerful in public, but her eyes, as one colleague noted, looked like someone smiling to hide something rotting inside. Peter all but disappeared from every frame, once a constant presence at her side. From grand galas to small charity events, he was now often absent. The reason: work schedule conflict, not convenient to travel, but something in Dana's tone whenever she mentioned Peter made it hard not to suspect words once filled with affection for her husband were now replaced by an unusual silence. In an October 2024 interview, when the host asked about Peter, Dana simply smiled and changed the subject. No evasion, no deflection, but clearly no desire to talk to fans. This was a clear sign that something wasn't right, but no one could be sure. This couple had always been private and resilient. Around that time, more strange signs began to surface. Some close friends revealed that Peter had started withdrawing from conversations. He ate dinner late, rarely answered calls, and replied to messages with curt responses. Dana tried to keep a good mood but couldn't hide how tired she was. In a recording made behind the scenes, she was heard saying, "Sometimes I don't even know what to say to the person who once knew me best." The distance, which was invisible at first, became as clear as a glass wall. Everyone could see it but not touch it. Then, in November 2024, Dana posted a short sentence on social media that got a lot of responses for hours. "Everything has an expiration date. The important thing is knowing when to let go." No one was tagged, and there was no picture attached, but everyone knew who she was talking about. After that, theories went crazy, and the media started looking again at her solo appearances. People in online communities looked at old pictures and captions that used to be full of love but now seemed eerily empty. What confused everyone the most was that there were no fights, scandals, or big moves from either side. There was just a gradual chill. A slow slide, like two people floating down different rivers. A friend of Dana's said that she doesn't give up easily, but she also doesn't hold on tight when she knows she's being pushed away. This was a surprise. What took place at the start of 2025? Dana and Peter both said they were officially divorced, without any anger or bad feelings. They didn't give any more details, just a short statement to the press and a thank you note for respecting their privacy. This led to the big question. How could two people who used to see each other as everything let go so easily? But Peter was hiding something that even Dana couldn't have imagined, the secret of the man who quietly walked away on August 31st, 2024. It was an ordinary day that turned into a nightmare when Peter McMahon had a mild stroke at home, feeling dizzy and spinning and then falling to the bathroom floor. Dana freaked out and rushed her husband to the hospital, where doctors told her the stroke wasn't serious and that he just needed to rest and be watched. But a routine checkup revealed a much harsher diagnosis: stage 3 colon cancer. As Peter held the diagnosis in his hands, he could hardly breathe. But what scared him more than the disease was Dana. He could see clearly that the woman he loved most in the world would have to give up everything: her career, her life, her passion, to care for a man who was slowly dying. That was something he couldn't accept. Peter had always been there for Dana from the sidelines. Now that she was finally living the life she had dreamed of, he couldn't be the reason to hold her back, so he started to quietly pull away bit by bit, just showing up less and less, talking less, hugging less, and saying good night. Even though things didn't change, Dana could feel something was off. Peter still came home, had dinner, and asked her about her day, but it all felt like duty. The connection was gone, and the two of us no longer existed. One day, Dana asked quietly, "Are you hiding something from me?" He gave a small smile and said, "I'm just tired." She didn't press him because she wasn't the type to demand answers, but that silence ruined everything. Peter kept up the busy man act. He used work as an excuse to skip events. He made himself impossible to reach, and then, on a quiet evening at the end of the year, he said the last words that cut through Dana like a blade. "We've become too different. It might be time to let go." There were no tears or fights, just a cold statement that made it sound like everything was already set. Dana froze. Dana signed the divorce papers because she agreed to the split and respected the man's decision. She couldn't understand how he could quickly walk away after promising to hold her hand forever. Nobody to blame or ask questions about. They've reached the end, people around the world thought. However, Peter never stopped loving Dana. He just didn't know how to love her when he was emotionally and physically drained. The long nights that followed, he stayed awake in pain. The physical and emotional effects of his cancer began to wear him down. But what drained him the most was the silence between them. He pretended to be fine when he wasn't pushing the woman he loved away when all he wanted was for them to be closer than ever. He thought this was the best way. But when Dana finally found out the truth, all of their trust fell apart. But instead of getting angry, she chose to return. Dana Perino finally discovered the real reason behind Peter McMahon's withdrawal, and it nearly broke her. A close source revealed it was a mutual friend who called Dana in early 2025, revealing that Peter had been silently undergoing treatment for stage 3 colorectal cancer. The illness had been diagnosed in August 2024, the exact time Peter began distancing himself and deliberately removing Dana from his personal life. The news left Dana in deep shock. For months she believed their relationship ended because they had lost common ground, but the truth was that Peter had purposely pulled away to protect her from the burden of his illness, a decision made without her consent or input. According to the source, the moment she found out, Dana went straight to Peter's home without warning. Witnesses described their reunion as tense, but not dramatic. Dana did not hide her disappointment. In a private meeting with her team, she reportedly said, "I didn't need him to be healthy, I needed honesty." What Dana asked Peter in that meeting, "Why did you hide this from me?" was also made public. Peter's reply was said to be brief: "I didn't want you to give up your life for someone who has nothing left to give." This marked a turning point in their relationship. No official statements were made, no public apologies, but from that day forward Dana was seen more often at Peter's residence. Some familiar with their schedules said Dana began adjusting her personal time to care for Peter during treatment. She did not mention this on social media, nor did she issue any statements about her reconciliation. Still, her retreat from public events and frequent presence near Peter's home were the clearest signs that something had changed. Observers believe this move was driven not only by personal emotion but also as a reaction to being excluded from such an important decision, something Dana would never accept either in private life nor in her career. In a private conversation with a colleague, she once admitted, "I'm not angry that he's sick, I'm angry that he thought I wasn't strong enough to stay." After that fight, the two seemed to move on to a new phase, not a traditional reunion, but facing reality together. Dana didn't try to change Peter's past choices, but she didn't leave him to face the rest of the road alone. By March 2025, internal sources confirmed that Dana had taken some time off from Fox News to care for Peter. While neither of them confirmed this officially, people close to the couple said, "Every morning Dana shows up on time with her medicine, breakfast, and the day's doctor appointments." Dana's choice to return was not just a personal gesture but a clear stance, not letting the one she loves endure alone even after divorce. Even without any legal bond, no public photos have emerged of the two together after that fateful reunion, still with Dana stepping back from the public eye and Peter no longer completely absent as before. Observers believe the two are quietly entering a new chapter, one where love doesn't need to be named but still exists, no legal ties, no repeated promises, but in the most fragile stage of life they chose to stay quietly but unmistakably. A reunion beyond expectations. After the unannounced reunion, Dana Perino did not say a single word to the media. She gave no press interviews, shared no photos, and wrote no posts mentioning Peter, but her schedule, once packed, was suddenly rearranged. According to several sources close to her team, Dana actively reduced her airtime, turned down multiple collaboration offers, and even postponed book promotion projects during peak season. The reason given was simple: personal matters take priority. People became more interested in Dana when she was seen regularly every morning in the neighborhood where Peter lives. There was no security detail or media present, just a woman carrying a paper bag with breakfast, a few books, and sometimes a dog leash. Neighbors said, "She doesn't show up like a TV personality. She acts like an ex-wife who still loves and feels responsible." Someone close to the family says that Dana didn't do anything heroic or dramatic. They say that she just cared for Peter in small ways, like making breakfast, organizing his medications, walking with him around the block, and sometimes sitting next to him during long treatments. Peter used to not want Dana to see him when he was weak, but he started to accept her. He didn't talk much, but he no longer refused her presence. People who saw him at the hospital said he became more pleasant, more cooperative, and somehow more at ease. They didn't talk about getting back together, and there were no court or media actions to show that they were. But their quiet, steady actions made it clear that they were living together again, but in a different way. There were no more public events or inspiring couple photos. Their relationship was now simpler and more private. They didn't need attention, they just needed to be together. Dana kept up with some professional tasks, mostly online. She kept up her personal podcast, where she talked about her thoughts on life, work, and society. At the same time, she was finishing a new children's book that was inspired by the dogs that had been with her and Peter, especially Jasper, Vishaw, and Percy. People saw this project as Dana's way of staying in touch with happy memories while dealing with a tough present. "Writing helps me stay on track." A friend of hers once told her that Peter stayed out of the public eye almost entirely. But in a rare interview with a health magazine he said, "With Dana by my side," which said it all. There wasn't any sentimentality or an over-the-top thank you. It was just an acknowledgement that when tomorrow is uncertain, having someone still choose to stay is the most precious thing. Recently, some people noticed that Dana and Peter walked their dogs around the neighborhood every late afternoon. They weren't too close, and they weren't always holding hands, but every once in a while, Dana would take Peter's hand as if it were second nature. They had been through so much together that they weren't afraid of the past or worried about the future. They chose to live fully in the present while they still could. What do you think about the way Dana and Peter chose to stay connected without titles or a public reunion, just by quietly remaining together when the other is at the most fragile stage of life? Could that be a different definition of mature love? Thanks for watching. Please leave a review and let us know what you think about their choice. Also, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next heartfelt, multi-layered, and deeply emotional story.